It's my distinct honor to introduce a leader who has championed education reform, supported our police and our ICE agents to keep our communities safe, and taken on the leftist legislator by voting 100 against vetoing 162 horrendous bills. Without Governor Lombardo being in charge, we would be in East California. We pledge here that Carson City Republican Party will do everything necessary to get Governor Lombardo reelected in 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, please, at this time, please stand and welcome the Honorable Joe Lombardo, Governor of the great state of Nevada.
Who's the singer? Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I told Susan I had to save him from the auctioneer. Where'd he go? Oh. So, before, just to kick this off real quick, on behalf of the Nevada Way PAC, which is a PAC that represents Joe Lombardo for governor, $1,000 check for the Carson City Republican Party. All right, is everybody having a good night? I like that lady. All right, so just to kick it off, everybody give Susan a round of applause. As you can imagine, you can see her running around like her hair's on fire because it's hard to coordinate all this that's going on here tonight. And Susan, I can't thank you enough, so thank you. Thank you. And then, did Martin sneak out? Oh, he's on his way, look. He's doing his Irish goodbye, so. Hey, Mark, thank you, buddy. Everybody give Mark a round of applause. This is the last hurrah. So Mark and I have a little back and forth in each one of these Lincoln Days we attend through the last 3 months. And he's getting a little wiser because every time I get up to talk, he knows I'm going to go after him, and he gets up in the back of the room and he ends up leaving. Yeah. You were afraid of me last night. You were a no-show. Right, Bruce? Where'd Bruce go? There he is. There he is. Yeah, I got it. All right, and traditionally through the last 15 of these, myself and the lieutenant governor, the assistant governor, the auctioneer called him. Are you aware of that? Yeah. The lieutenant governor and Andy Matthews, we all worked off each other and we spoke, but fortunately, they're not speaking tonight. Some of you got that. All right, I want to talk about a few things. First of all, Michael McDonald alluded to it tonight. Why the hell are we here, right? One is to raise money for the party, specifically Carson City Republican Party, so they can do what we asked them to do throughout the entire year. So everybody that bid on all the silent auction items, Mike, you got another bouquet of flowers, by the way, and all the live auction items. Thank you for your support. Thank you for support because why? Because we have to enshrine what the Republican Party is trying to do for the state of Nevada. And how do we do that? Everybody mentioned it. We don't do it as representatives in the political stream. But what you do is more important than what we do, because you're the ones that put us in place so we can represent you appropriately. But all the blood, sweat, and tears that happens in the other 12 months, 11 months of the year is a direct result of your effort. And I'm going to walk through some of the nuances and some of the quantitative numbers that we have to be aware of so we have success come November. The other thing is the lay of the land, right? Give you an idea of who's running for office, whether an incumbent is running again or not, whether there's new people that are interested in that position, what they stand for, and the opportunity for you to meet them, and they can tell you exactly what they believe in, exactly what Mark Amadei alluded to earlier. And then last week, when I was in Churchill, Pershing County today, specifically Lovelock, today, we talked about we. So myself, Starbucks Anthony, Andy Matthews, and all the legislators that represent the Republican Party as part of a group, exactly what we did and what we accomplished in the last 3 years, 3.5 years, almost 4 years, and why the hell should you even vote for us again, right? We have to justify your support and your vote moving forward. And that's why we're here tonight. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of numbers that we have experienced in the last 3.5 years. And I'm going to pull it down because my office and my staff prints out this document. It's usually in the back of the room, and it gives you a synopsis or an outline, a foundational awareness, exactly what we did representing you in the state of Nevada for the last 4 years. But I'm going to cull it down for you tonight to give you some answers, and then I'm going to have a couple asks of this group coming forward here tonight so we can have success come November. So let's start off with economic government efficiency. So day one, I had told everybody because of the last administration, we had suffered significant economic doldrums, right? We were the first out and last in on the back end of COVID. The previous administration shut down 95,000 plus small businesses within the state of Nevada, and we were suffering greatly. So I had made a promise when I ran for office via platform and eventually got elected to say, I promise you, we are open for business. We are open for business in the state of Nevada, and I'm going to do everything. Thank you. I'm going to do everything I can as the governor to ensure the success of small business, which is everybody knows the foundational aspect of any economy within any state. And so I issued an executive order, identified all my directors to come forward with a significant number of cumbersome regulations and ordinances that was prohibiting the success of small business. And as a result of that, over 1,200 different ordinances were brought forward. We presented it to the Legislative Commission, and with all that effort and that back and forth and negotiation, we were able to either modify or repeal over 900 burdensome regulations. And as a result of all that effort and through the Governor's Office of Economic Development, you selling Nevada for us, and the proliferation of businesses within the state, both north and south and in the middle and east and west. There's a couple stats I'm going to give you that are national stats that we pulled out of national media that defines the state of Nevada and our successes. Ranked among the top states for business strength in the U.S., Nevada. There you go. 7th best state to start a business in 2025. There you go. Largest increase in hourly pay in the country. Largest. Nevada ranked as the safest place to start a business with an 83% startup survival rate. Awesome. Climbed 15 spots on the U-Haul Growth Index. That's a serious thing, folks. And ranking 20th nationwide on the U-Haul Growth Index. What the hell does that mean, right? You know what that means? That means those communists over in California, well, no, they're getting away from the communists in California, and they're putting their stuff in a U-Haul, and they're coming to Nevada. They're coming to Nevada. Oh, by the way, is there anybody that's got enough backbone in here to admit that you are a tracker here tonight? So the last Carson City event that we did during the legislative session, if everybody remembers, it was during lunch. There was a tracker in the back of the audience. He didn't have the spine to tell me that they were media representing the Democratic Party. And what did they do? They recorded my speech, right? And what do they do in political drama, right? They chop it. They chop it on the front end and the back end, and they make me look as bad as they can make. You know what? If you are a tracker, so you can get it right, come up here and sit in the front seat, all right? That way you don't screw it up. Because anything that comes out of my mouth tonight, I'll stand behind it 100%. 100%. So the second piece we want to talk about is education. Nothing is more important in any state than education. It's the education of our youth, which defines success into the future, our vision of a quality of life for ourselves and our families into the future. And unfortunately, the state of Nevada hasn't done very well in all the measurements that they utilize in the education space. And for an example, when we were at the Lincoln Day dinner in Humboldt County, specifically Winnemucca, they had a sign up here, just like this, and they spelled Republican wrong. That means we got to work on our education system, right? And then we came to Carson City tonight, and I was looking at the silent auction items, and they spelled silent wrong. So if you go back there, where does Susan go? They spelled silent wrong back there. All right? We got to work on our education system, folks. You notice none of those counties were in close proximity of UNLV. All right, let's get serious here. So as a result of all our efforts, being the legislature and executive branch, we signed one of the most comprehensive education bills, SB 460, which expands school choice and open enrollment and giving families more freedom to choose, right? We signed the Safer and Supportive Schools Act, AB 330, to strengthen safety in the classroom and support teachers. Yes. We opted Nevada into the federal tax credit scholarship program, helping families access tuition assistance, tutoring, and special education services. And so you know that program is a Trump administration initiative. And so they're asking each state to buy into it. And it becomes a tax incentive for individuals that support that initiative, right? And it's a transferable tax credit, for a lack of a better term. We have an existing transferable tax credit program within our state government, and that's called Opportunity Scholarships. So, but it's not robust enough, right? We're pushing against headwinds against a Democratic majority legislature, because I wanted to put, $50 million into it, and I was rebuffed. And I wanted to expand upon it every year. And then I even had the idea to use 1% of the general fund on an annual basis to support, so we get as many students as we can into that school choice design. Right now, we're only supporting 1,400 kids. There's 700,000 kids in the state of Nevada in K through 12 education. 1,400 does nothing, right? So Donald Trump and his administration said, well, we're going to help you, Governor. We're going to help everybody in the United States that wants to opt into our program. And so they're increasing the incentives, tax initiatives for private industry and private individuals to put that on steroids in a more actionable fashion. So that's a good thing, all right? And then we secured a $100 million fund through the State Infrastructure Bank to create 7,500 new charter school seats in underserved communities. Awesome. So what does that equate to? Statewide, 7% increase in charter school proliferation, 7% increase in charter school proliferation, and that's on an annual basis. And we know the proof is in the pudding. When you measure the academics and accountability within the charter schools versus traditional public school, they are on steroids of success. And so we're taking bites of that proverbial elephant in school choice, which we all know in this room is a recipe for success in education. We're taking bites of the elephant, and we're going to continue to do that. In short, we're not going to put our head in the sand because of the majority of the Democratic Party who is preventing any success in school choice discussion, conversation, and we're going to continue to fight hard each and every time. And that's another reason why we all have to get reelected, right? Because if we're around for 4 more years and we're poking the bear, right, we're going to take some more bites of that elephant. Eventually, we're going to consume that big ass thing. So whatever it is. All right. Public safety. Everybody knows I was a 26-year police officer along with Stavros and Mike. And then I was 8 years as a Clark County Sheriff. Clark County Sheriff. But why do I say that? Because I know what safety means for a community. I know what safety means to an economy. I know what safety means in the proverbial quality of life in an entire state. And so I made a point as your governor that every legislative session I was going to present bills to address crime and public safety. And what did I mention earlier? Majority Democratic Party, right? And guess what? They like crooks. They like crooks. You know why? Because every one of my bills I presented, they parceled out information, they denied hearings on the bills, and they said, no, we're more concerned about the criminal element and their rights versus our victim rights. And so I wasn't going to put my head in the sand. We continued to push. And as you know, we called a special session here recently. And I said, for us to leave Carson City, we're going to have to pass a comprehensive crime prevention bill. And we did on sine die. So. And as a result, for taking more bites of the elephant in the past 3.5 years, 2 special sessions and 2 regular legislative sessions, we reduced violent crime by 10% statewide, property crime down 16% statewide, domestic and elderly crime down 7%, and we were able to orchestrate 20% pay raise for our law enforcement officers. And why does that 20% matter? Because there are people too, right? They put their life on the lines, they need to be compensated. But more importantly, when I took office, our state police had a 33% vacancy factor. We can't appropriately police the state with that kind of vacancy factor. We had to rely on the local sheriffs and the local police chiefs to help supplement what we were trying to do. And so with that 20%, we have reduced that 32, 33% down to 23, 24. And so we're seeing success with that effort. We're going to continue to take bites of the elephant. Attainable housing. Housing in Nevada sucks. Okay? No, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have used that word, but I did. No, it's because the average median house cost is insurmountable for our middle class, our workforce, our first responders, and their ability to buy a house and have that proverbial American dream, right? And the state, for the first time in history, decided to do something about it. They did some Homey, Nevada stuff, but that's just bonding through the treasurer's office, and then builders come in, they get low percentage rate loans so they can get into building facilities, and there's some incentives put into the counties individually to help with rental assistance. But we've never done anything with down payment assistance and the write-off of that, so individuals can say, hey, yeah, you're gonna help me, but I'm gonna have to pay it later, and I just can't afford to do it. So we changed that paradigm. We put $183 million into that problem in the last session. And so the first tranche hit the streets here in December to the tune of $22 million. And when we're all said and done, through the bonding capacity at $1 billion, $183 million in affordable, attainable housing, that's going to equate to over 7,500 individual families to have the proverbial American dream and own a home and being part of the fabric of our economy. And that's first and foremost. Traditionally, when we talk about affordable housing, attainable housing, we talk about the lower AMI, average median income. Around 30% of your average median income qualifies you. So we raised that not only from 30% and then the incremental bracket, and bear with me, I'm a little wonky on this, 120%. So I said, no, that's not sufficient. We got to address our first responders. So we raised it to 150% of AMI, and so our teachers, our nurses, our law enforcement, our firefighters, and everybody else can say, hey, I want to live in Nevada, and I want to do the right thing for the state of Nevada, right? Healthcare is awesome in the state of Nevada, right? No, it sucks. You know, for decades and decades, I got here in 1976, and since 1976, anytime you said, hey, I need a doctor, what did they tell you to do? Go to the airport, right? Go to the airport and go somewhere else to get quality health care. And so I made a promise that we were going to do something about it. So we put a significant amount of money into graduate medical education to the tune of $100+ million. What the hell does that mean? You're saying, when you graduate from med school, we have 2 med schools here in the state. And when you graduate, you go to your residency, your specialty training. We didn't have any specialty training here in the state of Nevada. So our doctors would go somewhere else that we graduated, that we paid for, right, to educate them. And then 60% of the time, when you go somewhere else for your residency program, you do not return. Okay, so we put a significant amount of money into that so the hospitals can develop their own residency programs domesticated here in the state of Nevada to keep our doctors in place. Significant improvement in that space. And here's a key thing that happened here recently. We secured $180 million through the Federal Rural Health Transformation Program through the Donald Trump administration. And just to clarify a little bit more, that's a 5-year program. So that's $180 million in the first year. And hopefully we'll continue at that level in the remaining 4 years. And what are we doing with that? We're building the infrastructure in the rural environment. I know Carson City hates to be considered rural, but you're rural, all right? And we're going to help the healthcare system within Carson City, all right? We're going to increase the technology via telemedicine and everything else that goes along with healthcare. And we're going to incentivize our providers / doctors to practice medicine within the rural environment. So you don't have to travel to Reno, you don't have to travel to Clark County, or wherever it may be that you get your quality health care, and you can do it at home. We're going to do that. We are doing that. It's not we're not going to do that. We are doing that. So it's important for people to realize we're kicking butt, and we've done a lot more. So this is a very comprehensive 5-page document. I just hit the highlights. But remember what I said. It's we. It's not just me. It's Rich DeLong. It's everybody. It's Dr. Titus over there. It's everybody that participates in the process that has gotten us there, that justifies your vote to say, hey, you know what, I like that guy. I'm going to re-elect them. I'm going to give them my vote so they can continue down that path. Government is not efficient. Amen, right? Okay, and we can't get a lot done in 4 years, all right? And that's why everybody in here that's running for re-election, they want to continue to get some more stuff done. You know, we have a lot of unfinished business. And the reason why I'm running for re-election, we have a lot of unfinished business, okay? And it takes a little bit of time to get that done. And once you get to that 8-year mark and you've had all these successes, it's in concrete. It's not in water. It's in concrete. And if we are fortunate to have another Republican governor come forward, they can continue forward. All right? If we are unfortunate and that tide changes, they can't change it because it's in concrete. And the state of Nevada will hopefully suffer minimally if we are unfortunately to fail. We're not going to fail, right? Right, James? We're not going to fail, right? All right. All right, so with that being said, there's a couple more things I want to talk to you about. And this is where you're involved. And this is my ask, and this is what I need from you as a group. So there's a couple things that are going to be hopefully on the ballot come November to help motivate people. We're in the midterm, right, folks? There's no president on the electorate. There's no president on the ballot. And what does that mean? On an average, across every county, the difference between a president being on the ballot and a midterm, no president on the ballot, you lose 20% of your total votes. On an average, 20% of your total votes. And they put it to quantify it or qualify it for you. In 2024, Carson City had 78% of your registered voters vote. That's great, right? A little hint out there, this little information. There's a couple counties that had 85%. Susan, where's Susan? Okay. Bruce, where's Bruce? All right. In 2022, Carson City had 63%. Okay, let me give you your today numbers. Registered Republicans, 14,200. Democrats, 9,000. You okay over there, man? All right, here's everybody listen. Nonpartisans, 12,000. Don't boo, get on board. Get on board. We need to bring those people over. We need to educate them. Why are they nonpartisan? Because it's an unknown to them, or they don't appreciate the extremes to the left or to the right. They have their own personal reasons. But what we have to do is reach out to them. Okay, we got to reach out, embrace them, educate them on what we stand for. We all know what we stand for, right? Low taxes, small government, personal freedoms, free markets, and public safety. It's simple. It's that simple. Just tell them, educate them. This is what we believe in, and this is what you need to come on board and help us get there. In the state of Nevada, they don't get to vote in the primary. That's good. And what we want to do is ensure they vote in the general, but they vote on the right side of the fence. Okay? That's just a matter of awareness. So if you approach this when the county parties go out and they knock on doors and they greet people and they get the ballots, they build the ballots and the word harvesting, you got to fight fire with fire, and you bring it to all those people you talk to, and they say, well, I'm a nonpartisan. You're a Republican. I said, well, let's talk about that. All right? You can be a nonpartisan and vote for a Republican in the general. We have to bring them on board. And I got two little motivators that are going to help you with that narrative and that discussion. When you're talking to your friends, family, coworkers, everybody that you have influence on. And one of them is we are in the second vote of voter ID. Right, Dave? So it's question 7, right? It'll be on the ballot. And we were successful in the last election cycle in the state of Nevada. You got to have 2 successive election cycles, and we were successful to the tune of 73%. And what does that mean? What does 73% mean on a ballot? That means those Democrats are coming over, all right? Publicly, they say they don't support voter ID. Privately, they do, all right? And so we got to go through another vote one more time, and then we'll put it into the Constitution. It requires you to provide an ID upon voting, okay? That's a motivator. So if you run into an individual and they say, I don't like anybody that's on the ballot, well, do you like voter ID? Yeah, I do. Well, you got to go for that. So get out there, and while you're there, pick a couple people on the ballot while you're at it. All right, the other one that we're attempting to qualify now, we just finished it at the state level in court. I'm looking at our local judge here. We just finished at a state level in court, and we were successful in passing prohibition of men and women's sports. Okay? Hold on, it sounds good, but you know how they don't like that, right? How they don't like that. And so they have the opportunity to file into the Supreme Court, which they did today, to continue to fight it. But we are not going to be deterred. I think we're going to be successful in the Supreme Court in getting the language passed and put it onto the ballot. And in the meantime, we are collecting signatures to qualify it, okay, come for the election cycle, come November. And so, in a matter of clarification, in the back of the room, those petitions for signatures that we have to get from every county, and for a total of 200,000 for the entire state, they're back there for you to sign up. So if you're a Carson City resident or a Carson County resident, you can go ahead and sign those petitions in the back of the room. Please, if you support this initiative, please do that, because I believe it's very important, because this particular issue polls at 67%. So 67% and 73% are unicorn percentages. You don't usually ever get there in a ballot initiative. Usually it's like 51 or 52. Okay, so that means there's a lot of people supporting it. It'll codify it within the Constitution of the state of Nevada. It'll make a difference for us in dealing with those particular issues into the future. So it's another vote driver for individuals that are on the fence on whether they want to participate in the election process. All right, that's all I got to say. All right, but hold on, John, relax. All right, I got to catch a flight, by the way. So don't think I'm being rude, but as soon as I get off the stage, I'm going to go through that door, because I got a flight at 9:25 in Reno. So don't anybody get offended by that, please. All right, because you know I'm here for you. You know I'm here for you. And by the way, this is our last one, isn't it? Lincoln Day? Oh no, we got one more, Esmeralda, next week, right? Next week. So, you know, a round of applause for everybody that's participated, all the politicians that showed up, all the candidates that showed up. You know, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to hit all the counties, but it's also important to show the appreciation for the counties making that effort. And this is what I'm going to leave with you. I'm Joe Lombardo. I'm your governor of the great state of Nevada. I'm running for re-election, and I appreciate your vote. God bless you. God bless you, everybody. Lisa Presley.
All right, how about another round of applause for our great governor? All right. Well, you guys have been amazing, but you don't get to go home yet. Soon. We just got a couple other things left to do. So one of the things, the silent auction is closing soon, so if you saw something you